What's going on, people? Yeah, I don't have a hat on. Look, there's a reason for that. Started fooling around with my Google VR, and as you can tell, I don't have the middle strap for it anymore. I figured out how to get rid of that. So, I was playing on this for a little while. Yeah, I don't have the middle part. Um, and that's because I found out how to take it off. So, no hat, but it's right here. Put that right back. So, there you go. That aside, let's discuss the Switch. The 32 gig shit. The 32 gig internal memory and why it's actually a little bit better than what you get with PlayStation's PS4 and the Xbox One. Whether it's the Pro or the X, how is the 32 gig internal memory of the Switch better? Well, first of all, when it comes to the physical side of games, Nintendo draws the game from the card. You are not required to install the full version of the game onto the damn system. That right there saves your memory card. Whether it's the internal or the mini micro SD card you go out and buy, thus saving a shitload of space on those things. That right there is the number one overlooked factor when considering this. This making that 32 gigs of internal memory a powerhouse. I know when installing games like Doom and Skyrim, yes, there's going to be some memory eaten, including games like 2K, I think, 18? Not WWE, but NBA, including other games. Yes, they'll eat some internal memory. That I have no problem, admitting. That's fine. However, they do not, I repeat, do not eat up as much memory as any of the games on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Think about that. Each game that you get on a PS4 or an Xbox One is a 50, if not 60 gig minimum download per game. 50 to 60 gigs minimum when you first buy the game. That's the base game. That's not including DLC, season pass add-ons, and updates, patches, and all that other shit that comes after you buy the game. That's the base game day one when you buy a PS4 and an Xbox One game. That's a lot of fucking space. Nintendo isn't doing that. Nintendo is allowing you to draw the game from the cards. These things. Okay, yes, I know it. And this is a 3DS game, but it's the same principle. The game is on this. The same game, Doom 2016, the one that you had to install on a PS4 or an Xbox One, is on one of these. And they're drawing that game from one of these. And you're only downloading, I think, the online part of the game. You're not downloading the actual campaign. That in of itself is impressive. How you're not fucking just, holy shit, is beyond me. You see what I'm saying? Now, I know what you're thinking. How is it that 32 gigs could outbeat 500? Well, that's the point. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing that, oh, playing games like Skyrim and Doom drawn from a card and not eating all the memory in the system. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing that, hey, if PlayStation or Xbox drew the game from the disc instead of having these mandatory installations, then yeah, it would be different. It would be a whole lot different if instead of, hey, I have to install the game to play the game like I do on a computer, onto my gaming system, then yes, the argument would be made, and yes, it would be valid that the 32 gigs is a piece of shit. But when you put in a micro SD card that's 64 gigs, and you buy nothing but hard copy games, physical copy games, and you're able to build a very big library, or a decent library in most cases, like mine's only 20 games, and I see people with like 50, 60 plus games, and they can still get away with having, like say a 64 gig memory card, because they have majority of the games being physical, and the memory card isn't even full. That's impressive. Try having that many games and the memory on the Xbox One or the even PS4 not be slam packed. You see what I'm saying? And I am saying that. I am saying you can't own 20 plus games on a 500 gig or even a terabyte PS4 or Xbox One without having to go out and buy an external. You just can't do it. Okay? I have on my 2 terabyte Xbox One, I have an external 2 terabyte. And that's how I'm able to have as many games on there as I have now. On my PS4, most of the games I have on that are, digital, because I do the month-to-month games. But even still, they're not all downloaded because I only have a terabyte. So the fact of the matter is, even if you have physical copies, you're still having to pick and choose what games you want versus having all of them available to play because of the file sizes. And the reason Nintendo wins here is because Nintendo is drawing the game from the card. They're not forcing you to install the game onto the damn system. That's how they're able to win. That's how that 32 gigs internally is so much more room than people make it out to be. If Nintendo would have came out with a 500 gig internal memory for the Switch, you would be sitting there going, what the fuck do I do with all this space? Because it's not a multimedia system, it's a game system. You don't put photos on there and movies on there. See what I'm saying? You don't put MP3s on there. You don't put FMVs on there. You don't put all that on there. That's not what that's for. Granted, you can put pictures and shit from like saving your game on there. Yeah, you can do that. But I mean like actual movies. Like you can't put It from 2017 on there. You can't put Wonder Woman or War for Planet of the Apes. You can't put those movies on there. So what would you do with 500 gigs of memory, internal memory, on the Switch? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you could probably buy every single game on the eShop, but even still, do you really think you would run through all that memory, considering a lot of those games are still not even close to 50 gigs when you download them? I mean, Breath of the Wild is only 14 gigs, and that was a major AAA game for the Switch. 14 gigs. And a major AAA game, when you look at like PS4 and the Xbox One, like Halo is over 50 gigs. And then you look at the PS4, I know I said PS4 and Halo, but Xbox One is Halo 5 at over 50 gigs. PS4 you have like Destiny, which is shared between them, but that's 60 gigs base model. See what I'm saying? See the difference? See how much memory difference is between those two? And again, talking digitally here. Digitally, and even physically, Destiny, to play that game just by owning the disc requires 60 gigs minimum. Day one. Then you get the Zelda game. If you have a physical copy of that, it only eats up maybe a couple megabytes just by plugging the damn game into the Switch. But if you download the game, downloading, yes, it's 14 gigs. And that sounds like a lot. But if they would have came out with a 500 gig Switch with 500 gigs internal, what the fuck does 14 gigs look like? And remember, we're coming off of the 360 and PS3 gen where 14 gigs still doesn't do anything. Hell, I had a 360 with 250 gigs in that bitch. And it took me forever to load that son of a bitch up. I mean, I was loading it month after month after month with 360 games, and I didn't think it was ever going to get filled. I mean, eventually it did, but it took forever. And I still was buying games for that system. I bought Tales of Vesperia, and I ended up getting the Lost Odyssey for free. And even with Lost Odyssey being over a 20 gig game, it still took forever. There's not one 20 gig Switch game on the market yet. Think about that. So, when you're asking for a lot of memory for the Switch, I know you're probably thinking longevity here, but at the same time, I think you're only going to need about maybe 500 gigs tops, because I don't see the Switch needing terabytes. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I know it can withhold terabytes with the SD cards, and they're eventually going to happen, but I mean, even if it would have came out with 500 gigs internal, that's just way too much fucking space. These games digitally, there's a lot of games on the eShop right now, and I've got quite a few, I mean, that are under a gig. They're not even a full gig when you download them. Vaccine was, I think, 500 megabytes. And then you have Radiant Saga at 900 megabytes. Some games are like 1.5 gigs. And they're not bad games. They're just not that big. Mario, a big AAA title from Nintendo, 5 gigabytes. I think 5.3 tops. When downloading the full game. You see what I'm saying? Majority of these AAA titles, whether first party or third party, are not as big as, say, on the PS4 or Xbox One. And that right there is kind of my main argument. Like, 32 gigs can go a long way, whether you're getting digital or you're getting physical, because the file sizes are so much smaller. And whether you're using the internal memory or you're using external through the SD cards with Nintendo, you can make that last a long time, because I guarantee you, what is that game called? Rocket League eats up a lot more space on the PS4 and the Xbox One than it does on the damn Switch. Because on the Switch, I have it, and it probably ate up maybe 10 gigs tops, because I still have over half my 64 gigs left. And I have about 30 games between digital and physical. So, with that being said, you gotta quit tripping out over this whole, well, the Switch's memory is pure shit. I have a 64 gig memory card in there right now, and I haven't even touched the internal memory. You know what I'm saying? It's not anywhere near as bad as majority people who are on here who talk about it make it out to be. Okay? Now, I know what a lot of people would say is, oh, hey, you're damage controlling. You're damage controlling. I'm not trying to damage control. What I'm trying to do is inform you here, because if anything, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If Xbox wanted to wow me with the Xbox One, they would have came out with the Xbox One X, and the base of that system being 2 terabytes. And the PlayStation 4 Pro would have probably, I think it came out at 1 terabyte. But I mean, the Slim would have came out at a full-on terabyte. But I mean, the PS4 in of itself should have came out at a terabyte. There would have been no reason for that system to have waited 3 years to hit 1 fucking terabyte. See what I'm saying? When the Xbox One had already managed to make a system with 2 terabytes in it way before then with the Slim. Get what I'm saying? I know the Slim came out 3 years later, but the fact is that, hey, the Xbox One had a terabyte model way before the PS4 even thought about it. So, you know, just think about that, okay? And think about, okay, the file sizes for the Nintendo games are smaller because Nintendo is doing something that PlayStation and Xbox is not doing. They're drawing the games directly from the cartridges. You're not having to install these games onto the system. So, with that in mind, the 32 gig internal storage on the Nintendo Switch is actually a powerhouse when you actually use it. I know that seems hard to deal with and hard to actually comprehend, but the fact is hey, I don't have to install the game. I really don't. I don't have to install the game. All I do is I plug it into the damn system, I hit the fucking A button, and it goes to the damn game. There's no waiting on the damn game to install. There's no pre-installation of damn anything. It just goes. You see what I'm saying? So, with that being said, Nintendo actually has one up here, okay? It's one up to Xbox and PlayStation on a lot of fronts. And whether you like the Nintendo Switch or you hate the Nintendo Switch, it's very much a more capable machine than a lot of people want to put on it, okay? And it's late, which is why I keep rubbing my eyes, is because I'm fucking tired. Alright, and like I said, I know people are going to be like, oh, you're damage controlling, but I'm just tired of hearing people go, the memory internally on the Switch sucks. Because I'm sitting here looking at it like, do you really not know that you don't have to install the game on the Switch, and the file sizes on the games are tiny in comparison? Because they're not demanding, they're not as demanding, they're actually games instead of, you know, all that whoop-de-whoop bullshit that you don't have to deal with. They're actual games. I mean, that's the best part of it, is Nintendo is letting you have these games versus PlayStation and Xbox, which is wanting you to have 4K HDR, 60 frames a second, which for some reason matters. Which I still can't figure out why. Why does all that shit matter if the game sucks? And notice a lot of their games suck. Why is it Grand Theft Auto is the highest selling Grand Theft Auto and still outselling everything on the market? Why is it the most hyped games are a remake, Final Fantasy VII? Why? In 2017, 2018 now, why is Final Fantasy VII the most hyped game coming out? Why is it new IPs that should be the brand most exciting thing taking a back seat to games like Final Fantasy VII Remake? You know, why? See what I'm saying? There's just a lot of things going on that with Sony and Microsoft that just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's a story for another time. I just felt like getting this out there because nobody else is saying it, and I feel like it's got to be said. The, you know, memory there is actually really decent if you know what you're doing and you know how to handle your memory. Then 32 gigs is a lot. I still haven't even touched my memory and the internal memory in the fucking Switch. So, I'm gonna leave it at that. This video has probably now been a ramble for about 5 to 6 minutes. I'll see you guys later. Deuces.